Hi, I'm Amanda Matson, and this is my video for the HLP EVP project presentation, meeting simulation with my administrator. So just before we start that part of it, I just wanted to give you a little background for who I work for. So I work for SWWC at one of their ELC locations. So it stands for Southwest West Central Service Cooperative. So I'm going to be focusing on the ELCs because that's where I'm a special ed teacher at. And they have six different ELCs within the co-op at 6 different locations within southern Minnesota, central Minnesota. They focus on, we have 2 primary programs that we provide for students. The first one is our SUN program, and that focuses on students with ASD and DCD, severe, profound, and mild to moderate. And within that program, our primary focus is behavior and communication issues. And then we have a Bridges program, which is primarily students with behavioral issues, and they're referred to us, well, all students are referred to us from the resident district. So those are more like the EBD, SLD students. So I just wanted to write a little bit of background before I go into talking about what I would talk about with my administrator. So I wanted to, if I were to present some resources to implement for us, I would present to her the National Technical Assistance Center on Transition, which is NTACT. So I'd like to present to you some information on NTACT, which is the National Technical Assistance Center on Transition. So they focus on collaboration. So they provide positive post-central outcomes for students with disabilities, and this occurs within education, vocational rehabilitation, families, and other partners who provide instruction, employment transition services, and other transitional services. So NTACT's main focus is supporting educational teams to improve practices that promote better outcomes for students with disabilities. So I felt like this will help us at our school. Our primary goal is for students to transition back to their home district. However, we've come across students who will fully graduate with us at SWC and the ELC that they're attending. So when that happens, I feel like sometimes planning, of course everybody with an IEP has post-secondary, transitional goals, but I feel like we could do a better job as service provider for students on the more transitional side of things if they don't transition back to their home district. So I wanted to share with you some information on NTACT. So I feel like they have so many great resources that can help our students prepare, pre-plan, and just overall get them set up with what they need to be successful. So in regards to the high leverage practices, so they actually kind of align with multiple HLPs, but the primary one is collaboration because they emphasize collaboration among general education teachers, special ed teachers, families, community agencies, vocational rehabilitation centers, employers, and post-secondary educational providers. They also provide data-driven planning, which by using the transitional assessments that they have provided, you can actually go in and download the PDF and fill it out with your students. It's great. They have so many great tools. So they focus on student strengths, interests, preferences, progress monitoring data, which they also provide within the website, and I'll show you that once we get to that. And that just overall helps prevent measurable post-secondary goals and transitional services to be the most effective, I think, for our students with disabilities. So they also focus on instructions in behavior and academics. So it teaches self-determination, self-advocacy, employment skills, independent living skills, and academic skills needed for life after high school. So they have within this website, they have so many resources and like curriculum for students that they can do, at their own, at their own pace, and it provides teachers resources that can help students, get through the curriculum, and it just mainly focuses on different ways to, be the most successful after they graduate, which I feel like is something that we don't focus enough on for those students that really need that before they leave us after graduation. And then also intensify and intervene as needed. So individualizes transition instruction and supports based on students' needs, providing intensive interventions when students require additional assistance. So how the HLP supports collaboration: it promotes regular communication among school staff, families, and outside agencies. It ensures that all stakeholders contribute to develop measurable goals. So each person involved in the students' planning, there's another thing I'll show you where you can just print that out also. It has each person responsible for each section of what's going to make that student the most successful, which is really awesome. It coordinates services and supports before the student exits high school, which is, something I think we need to focus on. And then it increases continuity between the schools and adult services. Because our students are still, their resident districts, even if they graduate with us, we still have to report back to, the resident district on their plans, their IEP, and all that information on what they're going to do after school. Okay, so as far as it is an evidence-based practice, and it states that within its website, it is identified by NTAC as being evidence-based practice through interagency collaboration and coordinated transition planning. So like I said before, it works collaboratively with families, voc rehab, communities, employers, post-secondary institutions, and it just overall helps coordinate all the services needed for the student to be successful. And then they stated in their website, the research has shown that coordinated planning improves post and secondary outcomes in employment, education, and overall independent living. So how can NTACT benefit us at SWWC? So I kind of touched base on, how our main goal is for students to transition back to their home district. And also, like I stated, that doesn't always happen. So a few of them will stay with us and graduate with us at the ELC. So then what happens if they don't return? I feel like we should start planning, like one of the PDFs that we can print out about how the student should start setting up planning like at the age of 14. So I feel like we need to be more effective early on instead of waiting till that student, is a junior or senior, and then, trying to scramble. And this NTACT gives you all the resources you need to make that student successful. So like I said, they have resources and training. So they have curriculum for students, and then they also have trainings that they can provide for staff, which is awesome. And it gives you, the PowerPoint presentation, presenter notes. It's great. So who benefits? Of course, all of our students that will potentially graduate from any of the ELCs with disabilities. So it can be utilized, at all the ELCs, not just our ELC. And the cost is free. I signed up and I have a free membership. And like I said, there's so many trainings and resources that just focus on preparing students to be successful. So how can we utilize this effectively? So I feel like to get started, I feel like the best way to approach that is perhaps develop like a transitional team. So we have like a PBIS team, we have like a safety committee team. So I feel like, why don't we try to add a transitional team, which would probably mainly focus on the middle school teachers, high school teachers, and any other, educational service providers that would want to be a part of that team. Maybe perhaps meet once a week to start off with, just to go through the NTAC's resources and how we can utilize them. And then maybe after that, go through some trainings, and then meet once a month to discuss how you can, further help the students transition. So I feel like that's a really good starting out point. Maybe in the future, working with, all 6 ELCs, and maybe developing a role of just a transitional coach, so they could go in and use NTACT resources go through a lot of the trainings, maybe go to, maybe have 2 and split them between the 6 sites. And they could go in and go through the trainings and then teach students or teach the staff all these different transitional needs that our students would be very helpful for our students. But I think starting off just for our school, maybe developing a transitional team where we could first utilize and go through the resources that they provide and see where our good starting off point would be. So then I just want to go in and show you some of the sites that I some of the information within the website that I kind of starred here so we can go through. So like I said, there's 13 different areas that you can focus on. So go to the website here, and I'm just going through my PowerPoint presentation. So we're going to go to their website. So NTAG Collaborative is their main title here. So as you can see, if I go to topics, there's so many different topics. So they have community engagement living, independent living, data use, supporting all students, so all students with disabilities, effective practices. So like I said, this is an evidence-based practice that works for schools. Employment topics, what you can do to help your students be employed, family engagement, ways to engage the family, what happens after graduation, or what would you do if a student would drop out. It gives you resources for that. So there's just 13 different topics you can click on. So we're going to go to a topic which is within the website. So they have under here, you can see, so they have training. So they have short courses, which are different courses that educators can take to learn more about the transitional process. So this is Life Hacks. So it's 2 lovely ladies who kind of do a podcast, I guess you could say. So they have different episodes. So here's one, for example. So Life Hacks for Transition, episode 8. So what happens once a student has a job? So your role transitions into ensuring the student has the accommodations they need to be a successful employee. So they just kind of go through and give you ideas, resources, thoughts on what you can do, after your student has a job. So it's great, and these guys are kind of funny to listen to. So different episodes for that, which is great. And then